Hey guys, Chris here from Carolot Farm. Today we're out in the garden and we have over 40 tomato plants that we need to tend to. I'm back from my lesson, I've had lunch, I've got my sun shirt on, and now I'm in the garden with our tomatoes. If you look behind me, we have tons, I don't know if you can see them, they're kind of hiding back in here, but we have tons of tomatoes on the vines. Some of them are hiding sort of deeper inside the middle there. So we've got tons of tomatoes, and my job today really is to work on not only weeding around the base of the plants, you know, there's a lot of like weed and stuff down here at the bottom, but to also then trim the plants themselves. That will help them to actually grow better and to produce better. So I'm going to trim the plants, do some weeding, and I'll get some video and show you some pictures because we have over 40 tomatoes, believe it or not, and pretty soon we're going to have lots and lots of produce that we're going to have to be working with. So today again it's tending, and then pretty soon it will be picking.
I'm so happy to be able to show you our tomatoes. This is a really big deal for us to have such a large crop this year. I do, however, want to apologize. It's really breezy, so bear with me because there will likely be some wind noise. In the garden this summer, we have a wonderful variety of tomatoes. We have Romas, we have paste, we have your sandwich style tomatoes, along with a few other varieties. So just a really nice collection of tomatoes here.
So here with our tomatoes, you know, we've got a nice plant here, but then we have this one kind of stem coming out here, and that's the type of stuff I'm going to trim today. You know, if I find other little branches that are leaning out across the pathways or just kind of going rogue, that's what I will primarily be looking for today. Some of these vines or these branches can actually be tucked back either inside the cage, or you can see some of the cages here actually have string on them because they were maybe missing like a middle support piece. So the branches that I can tuck back in, I will, but the others I will just be clipping off. And I really like to use these dog toenail clippers. They're great for all sorts of garden clipping. I see I actually have a third branch as well here that I'm going to go ahead and snip off. And this one has actually begun to root into the ground. So I'm going to pull it up and, you know, just discard these extra branches. But so far, this one side of our tomatoes is looking a little tidier. I found another of these branches here, and you can see it's well outside the blue cage. And I'm going to follow it all the way down to the base and nip it down low. And that way, you know, it won't be reaching out here into no man's land or encroaching upon its neighbor. When I planted our tomatoes this year, because we had so many, I actually ran out of tomato cages. And so these half a dozen or so tomatoes nearest to me do not have cages. And you will see that they are especially leggy and unruly. And I will trim a fair number of these branches, but I'm then going to take some twine and see if I can't tie them up a little more like I did here on this one to give them a little more support, because I do hate to trim just so many branches, but without those cages, they have gotten very, very wild. It's a lovely breezy day, but it's making videos hard. What I would like to show you though right now is, as I am beginning to weed down here at the base of my tomato plants, I am finding that the mounds of earth that I made, that I put a little well inside of, I like to do that with my plants, and it helps with watering. But it also helps with weeding because the ground where the mounds were stays a little softer and a little more pliable. So when it comes time to pull weeds, it's much easier when I have a mound where I created that well for the plant. So that's just one little gardening tip there. Another thing I am finding as I am weeding here, you know, around the base of my plant, not only is it easy to pull the weeds, but it's also allowing me to uncover a few more of these little, you know, suckers and wild branches that I will want to go ahead and trim. You know, I will trim both of these off. They're coming off of sort of that mother plant back here, and actually this little one as well. So I have 3 little vines that I have uncovered from weeding that I will now trim. Until you really get up close and personal with the base of these plants, there's a lot that we just don't see sometimes. So again, weeding around the plant is good for many, many things. I will also share that, you can see I have these fresh cuts here, as well as some down low where I had those lower little suckers going wild. It is recommended though that you trim your plant on, here's an older one there that's already deadened, but that you trim your plant on kind of a warm, sunny day. And that way these little cuts that we've made will have a chance to dry out, similar to how a cut on us would clot, right? So we want these to dry out and kind of form that closed end. When trimming, it's also recommended that you not trim too much away, not too many branches or large branches in one day. We wouldn't want to shock the plant. So I've done a little trimming today, and I'll come back every few days or even every other week and continue to trim as the season progresses. As I'm trimming and weeding around my tomatoes, I also want to check the fruit really carefully for what we call bottom end rot or blossom end rot. It's caused oftentimes in this early part of the season from inconsistent watering. And because of the amount of rain we've been getting and then the dry spells when we're watering by hand, we have had inconsistent watering for sure. And so oftentimes in this late spring, early summer, our tomatoes do get those black sunken in spots on the bottoms, but these are all looking really good. I've checked some of the other tomatoes on the other rows, and they're looking very healthy. But if you see that blackened bottom on your tomatoes, they do make a spray that you can put on them, and there's some other remedies. So once you see it, you can treat it, and then oftentimes the plants rebound and can do really well for the rest of the season. As I weed around plants such as these tomatoes, it's a bit of a rough weeding I do. I've pulled most of the primary weeds, but there are still some little bits and pieces that remain. But because these plants are so tall and kind of, sturdy and strong and well established, I don't feel the need to weed them quite as meticulously as I would my green beans or some of the other smaller, more tender crops. So, it's been a good day's weeding so far, but a little more to do. Thank you so much for joining me today. We got a lot done here in the garden, and that was a big deal, getting those tomatoes a little more under control before they really start fruiting and turning ripe. Was a big thing on the to-do list. So I'm so glad we got that done today. And now, I'll check on them every couple of days, give them a little trim here and there, but the bulk of the weeding and the trimming is done. So that was great. Thanks again for joining. Hope you enjoyed, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.